Watch.
the clip.
Watch.
Who got the clip?
I'm taking all this shit. I'm taking all this shit. So all this shit you talking about, bro, you gonna be real fucking sad, nigga. You gonna be real sad. You gonna be real sad.
Wow, what a press conference. Very interesting, to say the least, between Gervonta Davis and Frank Martin. You know, we got the typical Gervonta Davis, trying to assert himself before these fights. He does that in every fight. A lot of people might look at that as him trying to like hype himself up, boast himself. Frank Martin, for something that just stuck out with this fight, with this press conference, versus other Tank Davis press conferences. It was something about Frank Martin that resonated with me. I don't know what it was, but you could tell Frank Martin ain't no hoe, So, a lot of people are saying he's gonna get knocked out. I even predicted, I think, a body stoppage late. And it's funny because that's what Tank said. He said, you don't like shots to the body. And even in that fight with that, I can't pronounce the guy's name, pardon me, but his name was what, Iranian or something like that. The fight that he was struggling in, when the guy was moving around a lot. He caught Frank to the body, and Frank definitely didn't like that shit. And I saw it. And that dude wasn't a real big puncher. So I might be onto something when it comes to the body shot thing. But make no mistake, we could even see an upset in this fight. So I'm going to leave that on the table. It's quite possible. I know a lot of y'all might not think that, but Frank Martin, he's dropped his last 4 or 5 opponents. He hasn't knocked them all out, but he has dropped them. So he does have some good crack. He has some power. Frank Martin's footwork is underrated too, in my opinion. So we got two southpaws about to clash. But Tank definitely, he crashed Frank Martin's post press conference interview. Funny thing, Tank always saying somebody ain't like that. You ain't like that, Frank. You from the suburbs, and I'm like, Tank, you ain't like that. Even Tank's team. Like Coach Calvin Ford and all of them, they even said, when Tank was young, they kept him out of trouble. They kept him in the gym. And a lot of people also say, like, when were you ever in the streets? You wasn't out there busting your gun, out there selling drugs. You wasn't out there in the streets like that. Now, Frank Martin, I don't know what his background is in the streets. He might not really be like that either, but he ain't the one out here pretending like, he was actually in the streets in Baltimore. Tank is. It's one thing to be from an environment, but then it's another thing to be a part of that environment, man. It's a whole different animal. And Tank, he had a lot of people protecting him to keep him away from that, which is a good thing. But he's going off this whole Baltimore thing, like he was out there, really out there. He was like that. So I wish Tank would stop saying that to people, man. Like he was really a menace to society, or like he was really out there in the streets putting in pain and all that. He really was not like that. He wasn't like that. And then Frank Martin's brother, he was right there, and Tank says, "Oh, so you the one that was really out there like that." Come on, bro. Like, who cares? Like, what are you talking to his brother for, man? That shit. Like, what are you doing? So Tank trying to clearly get under Frank's skin. Then he said something on the press conference itself about talking about Frank's girlfriend. So he's trying to really push buttons to throw dudes off their game. Not sure if Frank Martin's really gonna fall for it, but Frank got to do his thing to sell the fight too. So he's responding, being responsive to a lot of stuff Tank is saying, which is normal. But there's something about Frank Martin that I saw in his eyes that was a little different than like a Ryan Garcia or maybe I'm looking a little bit too much into it, but I guess soon we're gonna have to find out. We'll find out in June. But my prediction stands still. I got Tank late stoppage to the body. But like I said, this might be another this might be another decision win for Tank, or he might end up getting outboxed and lose. That's possible, man. If like I said, Frank Martin could evade a lot of the he could evade a lot of sneaky punches from Tank, or he can keep Tank backpedaling and all that. You know what I think the game plan might end up trying to be with them? Tank is a late starter, right? So I'm banking on Derrick James and team pretty much trying to go out there and early on in the fight press the issue. Tank gonna let him press the issue a little bit. He's not gonna come out and try to take off Frank's head. We already know that's how Tank fight. So I think what's gonna happen is Derrick James gonna try to have Frank Martin be aggressive, carefully aggressive, first 3-4 rounds. By that time, Tank will probably figure out Frank Martin, and then they're gonna have Frank Martin pretty much tone down a little bit, kind of like, ease up on the aggression and start boxing. That's what's gonna happen, right? They're gonna have Frank start boxing, and then Tank gonna start turning up, getting aggressive. There's a pattern to a lot of Tank Davis. Just watch his fights. He plays possum early on in the fight, and then towards the mid to late rounds, he start being aggressive. He starts to really start walking you down. He does that a lot. And when you start backpedaling, and he says that you are backpedaling, then he'll start looking for those, like walking you down, being in your face. And they're going to have Frank Martin probably start backpedaling. And I think they're going to try to run Tank into some counter shots. I think that's what's going to probably end up happening in this fight. I think that's the only way Frank will probably win, is if he ended up getting countered all night and he used great movement. If he can evade a lot of Tank punches late and Tank start getting ultra aggressive and frustrated, I got, there's a possibility Frank Martin could counter him to death for the rest of the fight. He could possibly buzz him too, because like I said, they said it was in sparring. Frank Martin buzzed Tank and it had on headgear. So, I mean, it happens, man. Getting buzzes, Tank has shown a pretty decent chin. The reason why I say decent is because, he got punched by Ryan Garcia. I think he showed a pretty good chin. He got punched by Frank. I forgot he got hit by Rolly. He said Rolly was the hardest punch he ever faced with Rolly, bro. And he never was hurt against Rolly. So I think Tank's chin is pretty much solidified. All right, but can Frank hurt him and knock him out? This is boxing, absolutely. He's still a power threat to Tank. He's not like a real soft puncher, but he's not a big puncher either, Frank Martin. But he can hurt Tank, man. He can hurt him if he catch him the right way. But ultimately, man, I don't think that's gonna happen. He probably gonna counter Tank and just counter pot shot him to a win if he was to probably win this fight. But that's only if they stay on their game plan. And like I said, they're going to try to change the dynamics. There's going to be fireworks maybe the first 4 or 5 rounds. And then Tank going to try to turn it all the way up and step it up a notch. Frank definitely going to stand his ground. But I think ultimately the plan probably going to be to use his feet, use his legs, and let Tank come in aggressive and catch Tank with a lot of counter shots. That's what I think will end up happening. But we'll see. Anyway, let me know what you thought about the press conference. I thought it was entertaining. I just think Tank, he's a little cringy with that. You ain't really like that, and stop it, bro. You ain't like that, bro. You ain't been out there. You ain't been out there holding guns on the corner, putting guns under the tire of the car. Because it's beef. Wrapping your gun up in a brown paper bag, putting it by the mailbox. Tank don't know nothing about none of that shit, bro. Trust me. But anyway, this is Rumble Like Boxing, bro. Let me know what y'all think. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll catch y'all in the next one. And I'm off this.